The Nigen Supreme Leader, Sci-Fi, laughed as he watched Earth's pitiful defenses crumble beneath his advanced weaponry. His amusement, however, was about to be cut short by a human soldier wielding an unexpected blade. Hovering above the skyscrapers of New York City, the massive Nigen battlecruiser cast an ominous shadow over the bustling metropolis. Its sleek, otherworldly design stood in stark contrast to the primitive human architecture below. A colossal holographic image flickered to life, projecting Sci-Fi's imposing visage across the sky. His multiple eyes blinked in synchronization as he addressed the United Nations, his voice booming with authority and disdain. "People of Earth," Sci-Fi intoned, his words translated into every human language simultaneously. "Your planet is now under the protection and control of the Nigen Empire. Surrender immediately and integrate into our glorious civilization, or face annihilation." As panic gripped the streets of New York and cities worldwide, the UN Security Council convened an emergency session. World leaders, their faces etched with fear and determination, debated their limited options. Military forces across the globe raised their alert levels to DEFCON 1, preparing for an unprecedented alien invasion. Deep beneath the Pentagon, in a classified facility unknown to all but a select few, United States Army Special Forces Captain Christian Carter stood at attention. His muscular frame was taut with anticipation as he received his briefing on humanity's secret weapon. Scientists and military officials gathered around a sleek metallic case. "Captain Carter," the lead scientist began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "This is our last hope." She opened the case, revealing a sword unlike any other. Its blade hummed with an otherworldly energy, emitting a faint blue glow. This high-frequency vibration sword can cut through the aliens' advanced materials and disrupt their energy shields. It's our only chance against their superior technology. Carter's hand closed around the hilt, feeling the power coursing through the weapon. He nodded grimly, understanding the weight of the mission before him. As he and his hand-picked team prepared for their covert operation, reports flooded in from around the globe. Nigen forces had begun their invasion, landing in major cities and effortlessly brushing aside human resistance. Conventional weapons proved useless against the aliens' energy shields and advanced armor. Bullets ricocheted harmlessly, and explosions dissipated against impenetrable barriers. Sci-Fi's laughter echoed through the command ship as he watched Earth's militaries falter. "Bring me their leaders," he commanded his troops. "Let them witness the final moments of their pathetic civilization." Using a reverse-engineered alien teleportation device, Carter and his team materialized in the Nigen battlecruiser's cargo hold. They moved silently through the corridors, their black ops training allowing them to evade alien patrols. As they approached the bridge, they encountered their first real opposition, a group of elite Nigen warriors. Carter activated his vibration sword, its energy-infused blade humming to life. The Nigen soldiers sneered at what appeared to be a primitive weapon, their overconfidence stemming from their technological superiority. Their amusement turned to shock as Carter's blade sliced through their energy shields and armor with ease, leaving a trail of defeated foes in his wake. Word of the humans' inexplicably effective weapon spread rapidly through the ship. Confusion and fear replaced the Nigen's earlier bravado. Sci-Fi, alerted to the intruder's presence, prepared to face them himself. His multiple hearts beat with anticipation, confident that his combat skills and superior technology would prevail. As Captain Carter reached the bridge entrance, the door slid open to reveal Sci-Fi in all his alien glory. The two adversaries locked eyes, human determination facing off against alien arrogance. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as Carter raised his vibration sword, its blade humming with the promise of humanity's defiance against the stars. The bridge of the Nigen battlecruiser erupted into chaos as Captain Carter and Sci-Fi clashed. Their blades met in a thunderous collision, sending cascades of energy rippling through the air. The vibration sword hummed with intensity, its blue glow reflecting off the metallic surfaces of the alien command center. Sci-Fi's initial sneer of contempt quickly faded as he realized the effectiveness of the human's weapon. His energy blade, a marvel of Nigean technology, sparked and sputtered against the relentless assault of Carter's vibration sword. The alien leader's multiple eyes widened in disbelief as he was forced back, step by step. "Impossible!" Sirefather hissed, his translated voice crackling through the ship's speakers. "No primitive species could possess such technology." Carter remained silent, his focus absolute as he pressed his advantage. The human soldier moved with fluid grace, his special forces training evident in every precise strike and parry. Sparks flew as the two blades collided again and again, creating a dazzling light show that illuminated the bridge. While Carter engaged Sirefather, the rest of his team sprang into action. They moved with military precision, neutralizing the alien crew members with well-placed shots from their own vibration weapons. Petty Officer Sarah Chen, the team's tech specialist, rushed to the main control console. "Accessing their systems now, Captain," Chen called out, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "I'm locking down all escape routes and disabling their communications." Sirefather growled in frustration, his attacks becoming more frenzied as he realized the precariousness of his situation. He lunged forward, attempting to use his superior height and reach to his advantage. Carter anticipated the move, ducking under the alien's guard and bringing his vibration sword up in a swift arc. The human's blade sliced through Sirefather's energy shield as if it were paper, leaving a smoldering gash across the alien's torso. The Nigean leader stumbled back, shock and pain evident in his inhuman features. With a final desperate swing, Sirefather's energy blade clattered to the floor, deactivating as it left his grasp. Carter stood over the defeated alien, the tip of his vibration sword mere inches from Sirefather's throat. "Surrender!" the human commanded, his voice steady and unwavering. Sirefather's multiple hearts raced as he looked up at the human soldier. The alien's arrogance crumbled, replaced by a mixture of fear and grudging respect. I yield," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As Carter's team secured Sirefather and the rest of the bridge, reports began flooding in from Earth. The vibration technology, hastily replicated and distributed to human forces, was turning the tide of the ground war. In London, soldiers wielding vibration-enhanced weapons pushed back against Nigean shock troops, reclaiming Trafalgar Square in a fierce firefight that left the alien invaders in disarray. Moscow's defenders, bolstered by the new technology, launched a daring counterattack that drove the Nigeans from the Kremlin. The onion domes of St. Basil's Cathedral, miraculously untouched by the invasion, stood as a symbol of human resilience against the backdrop of laser fire and explosions. In Beijing, the People's Liberation Army, now armed with vibration weapons, engaged in street-to-street combat with the alien forces. The Forbidden City became a battleground as human soldiers used their newfound advantage to outmaneuver and overpower the technologically superior invaders. Back on the captured battlecruiser, Captain Carter and his team worked feverishly to exploit their victory. Petty Officer Chen delved deep into the Nigean computer systems, uncovering a wealth of strategic information. "Captain, you need to see this," Chen called out, her eyes wide as she scrolled through the alien data. The vibration technology, it's not just effective, it's their Achilles heel. Their entire energy shielding system is vulnerable to these specific frequencies. Carter leaned in, studying the complex diagrams and specifications on the screen. "Can we use this to disable their fleet?" Chen nodded, her fingers already flying over the keyboard. "I'm transmitting the data to Earth now. With this information, we might be able to develop large-scale weapons that could neutralize their defenses entirely." As the human team worked to secure their advantage, confusion reigned in the Nigean fleet. Some ships, still loyal to the captured Sirefather, continued their relentless assault on Earth's orbital defenses. Others, uncertain of the chain of command, held their positions in high orbit, awaiting further orders that never came. This disarray provided a crucial opening for Earth's remaining defense platforms. General Sandra Martinez, commander of the Global Orbital Defense Network, seized the opportunity. "All stations, this is Sierra Oscar Actual," she barked into her comm unit. "The enemy is in disarray. Concentrate fire on the active hostile ships. Let's show these aliens what happens when they pick a fight with humanity. The space around Earth lit up with renewed battle, as human defense platforms unleashed a coordinated barrage against the most aggressive Nigean ships. Missiles and energy weapons found their marks with increasing accuracy, exploiting the confusion in the alien fleet. Aboard the Nigean flagship Eternal Dominion, Admiral Zixalara watched the unfolding chaos with growing concern. Her 4 arms worked in perfect synchronization, manipulating holographic displays and issuing rapid-fire commands to her subordinates. "Cease all offensive operations immediately," she ordered, her voice calm but tinged with urgency. "All ships are to fall back to defensive positions. Something has changed, and we need to reassess our strategy." As Zixalara's orders spread through the fleet, the intensity of the orbital battle diminished. The Admiral's sharp mind raced, analyzing the sudden shift in the humans' capabilities and the unexpected loss of contact with Sire-Father's command ship. On Earth, the United Nations Security Council convened in an underground bunker, safe from the chaos above. Representatives from world powers gathered around a circular table, their faces a mixture of hope and apprehension as they discussed the latest developments. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Secretary General began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we have an unprecedented opportunity before us. The capture of the alien leader and the discovery of their technological weakness gives us a chance to turn the tide of this invasion. But we must act quickly and decisively." As the world's leaders debated their next move, Dr. Elias Krantz was escorted into a hastily assembled laboratory in the depths of CERN. The scientist's eyes widened as he took in the array of captured Nigean technology and the streams of data flowing across multiple screens. "This is extraordinary," Krantz muttered, already immersing himself in the alien schematics. "With this information, we might be able to not only defend ourselves, but take the fight to them. We need to start work on scaling up the vibration technology immediately." As Earth prepared for the next phase of the conflict, Captain Carter stood on the bridge of the captured Nigean battlecruiser, looking out at the planet below. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, with the next moves of both species set to shape the future of Earth and its place in the galaxy. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Carter's shoulders as he contemplated their next move. "Captain, we've got incoming transmissions from Earth," Petty Officer Chen called out, her fingers dancing across the alien console. "It's Dr. Elias Krantz from CERN. He says it's urgent." Carter strode over to the communications array, his vibration sword still humming at his side. "Patch him through, Chen." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the disheveled but excited face of Dr. Krantz. "Captain Carter, your team's discovery is nothing short of revolutionary. We've been analyzing the data you sent, and we've made a breakthrough." Krantz's image was replaced by a complex schematic of what appeared to be a massive cannon. "We've developed a prototype for a large-scale vibration weapon based on the technology of your sword. We're calling it the Resonance Cannon." Carter leaned in, studying the design with intense focus. "How soon can it be operational?" "We're already constructing the first unit," Krantz replied, his voice brimming with awe-inspiring excitement. "It's being installed on the USS Defiant as we speak. The carrier has been modified to house the cannon and is preparing to set sail from Pearl Harbor with a task force." The implications of this development weren't lost on Carter. A weapon of that magnitude could turn the tide of the entire war. "What's their mission?" he asked, already formulating plans in his mind. "They're to engage the Nigean fleet in Earth's orbit," Krantz explained. "The goal is to create an opening for a counterattack. Captain, this could be our chance to push back against the invasion force." As Carter absorbed this information, alarms began blaring throughout the captured battlecruiser. Chen's hands flew over the controls, her eyes widening as she interpreted the Nigean data streams. "Captain, we've got movement in the Nigean fleet," she reported. "It looks like they're detecting the approach of our task force. They're mobilizing to intercept." Carter's mind raced, weighing their options. They were in a unique position to aid Earth's counterattack from within enemy lines. Chen, can you access the Naijian fleet's defensive systems from here? A sly smile spread across Chen's face as she caught on to the captain's plan. Already on it, sir. I can begin disabling key systems on several enemy ships. It'll create chaos in their ranks. Do it, Carter ordered. He turned to address the rest of his team. Listen up, people. We're about to give our forces down there a fighting chance. Jameson, I want you monitoring Naijian communications. Rodriguez, work with Chen to maximize the disruption to their fleet. Let's show these aliens what happens when they underestimate humanity. As Carter's team sprang into action, the space around Earth erupted into a frenzy of activity. The Naijian fleet, led by Admiral Zix Alara aboard the imposing command ship Eternal Dominion, moved to intercept the approaching human task force. Zix Alara's 4 arms worked in perfect synchronization, manipulating holographic displays and issuing rapid-fire commands. All ships form up in attack formation Delta, prepare to crush this pathetic human resistance. But as the Naijian fleet maneuvered into position, chaos erupted across their ranks. Ship after ship reported sudden system failures, weapons going offline, and shields fluctuating wildly. "What is happening?" Zix Alara demanded, her voice rising in pitch as reports of malfunctions flooded in. Aboard the USS Defiant, Admiral Helena Reeves stood on the bridge, her weathered face set in unwavering dedication. The newly installed resonance cannon hummed with power, sending vibrations through the entire ship. "All ships, this is Admiral Reeves," she broadcast to the task force. "Remember your training. We hit them hard and fast. The future of our species depends on what we do here today." As the human fleet closed in on the disorganized Naijian forces, the USS Defiant took aim at the lead alien warship. The resonance cannon charged, its barrel glowing with barely suppressed energy. "Fire!" Admiral Reeves commanded. The resonance cannon unleashed its power, a beam of concentrated high-frequency vibrations lancing out across space. It struck the Naijian warship dead center, effortlessly piercing through its energy shields. The alien vessel shuddered, its hull buckling under the assault, before it erupted in a spectacular explosion. Stunned silence fell over both fleets for a moment, before the human forces erupted in cheers. Admiral Zix Alara stared in disbelief at the destruction of one of her most powerful ships. "Impossible," she whispered, her multiple hearts racing. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Focus fire on that human vessel." But the tide had already turned. More human ships, hastily outfitted with smaller versions of the resonance cannon, joined the fray. The space around Earth lit up with the deadly dance of vibration beams and Naijian energy weapons. On the ground, the effect of the space battle was immediately felt. Human forces, newly equipped with vibration-based weapons, launched coordinated assaults to reclaim major cities from Naijian control. In New York, Major Sarah Hawkins led a team through the concrete canyons of Manhattan. The vibration rifles in their hands hummed with deadly potential as they encountered a Naijian patrol. "Take them down!" Hawkins shouted, her weapon finding its mark with deadly precision. The aliens' energy shields flickered and failed under the assault of the vibration weapons. In minutes, the patrol lay defeated, and Hawkins's team pushed forward towards their ultimate goal, the Empire State Building. As they fought their way up the iconic structure, Hawkins couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. This was more than just a strategic objective. It was a symbol of human resilience and tenacity. Finally reaching the observation deck, Hawkins and her team secured the area. With reverence, she unfurled an American flag, its stars and stripes a stark contrast to the signs of battle around them. "For Earth," she said quietly, raising the flag high above the New York skyline. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In London, Paris, and Tokyo, human forces pushed back against the Naijian occupiers. Civilian resistance movements, inspired by the military's success, joined the fight with improvised vibration weapons. Back in space, Captain Carter and his team continued their sabotage efforts from within the captured Naijian battlecruiser. As they worked, Carter stumbled upon a piece of intelligence that made his blood run cold. "Chen, take a look at this," he called out. gesturing to a complex star map on his display. Chen's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. Is that what I think it is? Carter nodded grimly. The location of the Nigean Empire's central command hub. They call it the Nexus. It's the heart of their entire military operation and the seat of their government. The implications were clear. If they could strike at the Nexus, they might be able to end the war in one decisive blow. But such an operation would be fraught with danger, requiring them to take the fight deep into enemy territory. As Earth's forces continued to push back the Nigean invasion, both in space and on the ground, Admiral Zix-Salara faced a difficult decision. The unexpected strength of human resistance and the potential for a prolonged, costly conflict caused great concern on her mind. With a heavy heart, she gave the order. All ships initiate tactical retreat. We must regroup and reassess our strategy. The Nigean fleet began to disengage, leaving behind their ground forces to maintain a hold on key Earth locations. As the alien ships vanished into the depths of space, a mixture of relief and apprehension settled over the human forces. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the war was not nearly finished. Earth's leaders convened to plan their next move, with Captain Carter's discovery of the Nexus looming large in their discussions. As the dust settled on the first major human victory, the stage was set for the next phase of the conflict. The question on everyone's mind, would Earth be content to reclaim its territories, or would they take the fight to the heart of the Nigean Empire? Carter stood on the bridge of the captured battlecruiser, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond. He knew that the hardest part of their struggle still lay ahead, but for the first time since the invasion began, he allowed himself to feel a glimmer of hope. Whatever challenges awaited them, humanity had proven it was ready to face them head-on. Carter's moment of hope was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth. Captain, your presence is required at the United Nations Security Council meeting, Chen relayed, her voice tense with anticipation. Within hours, Carter found himself standing before the world's leaders, presenting the intelligence he had discovered about the Nigean Nexus. The room fell silent as he explained the significance of this central command hub. Ladies and gentlemen, Carter concluded, we have an opportunity to strike at the very heart of the Nigean Empire. This could be the key to ending this war decisively. The Security Council members exchanged glances, the weight of the decision hanging heavily in the air. After a brief deliberation, the Secretary General spoke. Captain Carter, we are authorizing Operation Sword Strike. You will lead a mission to infiltrate enemy territory and launch an attack on the Nexus. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Elias Krantz approached Carter, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Captain, we've already begun modifying the captured battlecruiser. We're installing a more powerful version of the resonance cannon. It's going to be a game changer. While preparations for Operation Sword Strike ramped up, Earth's military forces turned their attention to liberating occupied territories. Major Sarah Hawkins stood at the head of a multinational task force, her eyes scanning the horizon of a war-torn Paris. Alpha Team, move in on my mark, Hawkins commanded, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. The squad, armed with newly developed vibration rifles, moved swiftly through the streets. As they rounded a corner, a group of Nigean soldiers came into view. Without hesitation, Hawkins raised her weapon and fired. The air hummed with energy as the vibration beam struck the lead alien, its shield flickering before failing completely. The battle was fierce but short-lived. Human forces, now equipped with technology to counter the Nigean defenses, made quick work of the alien occupiers. As the last enemy fell, Hawkins allowed herself a small smile. One city at a time, she muttered, already planning their next move. Meanwhile, in a star system not far from Earth, Admiral Zix-Salara paced the bridge of her flagship. The defeat at Earth had been a significant setback, but she was far from beaten. Begin construction of defensive perimeters around the Nexus immediately, she ordered, her forearms gesticulating forcefully, and initiate a propaganda campaign. We must ensure our people's continued support for this war. Back on Earth, Carter stood in a hangar bay, surveying the team he had assembled for the assault on the Nexus. Each member had been handpicked for their unique skills and experience with alien technology. Lieutenant Tanaka, Carter called out to a young Japanese woman hunched over a complex array of equipment. "How are we looking on the Nijin communication systems?" Tanaka looked up, a satisfied grin on her face. "I've cracked their latest encryption, sir. We'll be able to intercept and decipher their transmissions in real time." As the team continued their preparations, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Chen's voice came over the intercom, urgency evident in her tone. "Captain, we have multiple reports of attacks on military installations worldwide. It appears to be coordinated Nijin sleeper cells." Carter's mind raced as he processed this new threat. The timing couldn't have been worse. With Earth's military now forced to split its focus, the window for Operation Sword Strike was rapidly closing. "We need to move now," Carter declared, turning to his team. "Everyone on board the Excalibur. We launch in 10 minutes. As the crew rushed to their stations, Dr. Krantz intercepted Carter. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough with the Nijin FTL technology. We've equipped the Excalibur with a prototype human-built drive. It should give us a significant advantage in speed and maneuverability." Carter nodded, relief washing over him. This development could make all the difference in their mission's success. As the final launch preparations were underway, the sound of explosions rocked the facility. Nijin forces had mounted an attack on the secret hangar housing the Excalibur. "All hands, battle stations!" Carter shouted as he sprinted toward the bridge. The ship's defense systems came online, shields humming to life as energy weapons fire peppered the hangar. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez manned the weapons console, his fingers dancing across the controls as he returned fire. "Shields holding at 80%, Captain, but we can't take much more of this." Carter gripped the arms of his command chair, his voice steady as he gave the order. "Initiate launch sequence. We're leaving now." The Excalibur's engines roared to life, the massive ship rising from its berth amidst a hail of weapons fire. As they climbed through the atmosphere, the ship shuddered under the continuous assault. "Shields at 30%, Captain," Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. "We're approaching the upper atmosphere." Carter leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Prepare to engage FTL drive on my mark." He paused, waiting for the precise moment. "Now!" The prototype drive hummed to life, and in a flash of light, the Excalibur disappeared from Earth's orbit, leaving behind the chaos of the Nijin attack and hurtling towards the heart of enemy space. As the stars streaked by outside the viewports, Carter allowed himself a moment to take in the magnitude of their situation. They were the first human vessel to travel faster than light, entering a realm of space no human had ever seen before. The fate of Earth rested on their shoulders, and the decisive battle at the Nexus loomed ahead. "Status report," Carter called out, pushing aside his awe at their accomplishment. "All systems nominal, Captain," Chen responded. "The FTL drive is performing beyond expectations. At our current speed, we should reach Nijin space in approximately 72 hours. Carter nodded, his mind already racing with plans and contingencies. "All right, people. We have 3 days to prepare for the fight of our lives. Let's make every second count." As the Excalibur hurtled through the vastness of space, Earth continued its struggle against the remaining Nijin forces. The future of humanity hung in the balance, with the outcome of Operation Sword Strike set to determine the course of the war and Earth's place in the galaxy. The Excalibur emerged from FTL travel with a slight shudder, the prototype drive powering down as the ship decelerated to sublight speeds. Through the view screen, the crew beheld the vast expanse of Nijin-controlled space for the first time. Captain Carter's voice cut through the tense silence on the bridge. "Activate cloaking device." Chen's fingers danced across her console. "Cloaking device engaged, Captain. We're invisible to Nijin sensors." The ship's exterior shimmered briefly before fading from view, its hull now covered in light-bending technology reverse-engineered from captured Nijin vessels. Carter allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on their next objective. "Lieutenant Tanaka, begin long-range scans of the Nexus. I want to know everything about their defenses." Tanaka nodded, his eyes fixed on the sensor readouts scrolling across his screen. As the data poured in, his brow furrowed in concentration. Suddenly, his fingers froze over the keys. Captain, I've detected a vulnerability in their communication network, Tanaka reported, his voice tinged with excitement. With your permission, I'd like to attempt infiltration. Carter considered for a moment. Do it, but be careful. We can't risk detection this early. Tanaka's hands flew over his console, lines of code flashing across the screen as he worked to exploit the weakness he'd discovered. Minutes ticked by in tense silence, until finally a triumphant grin spread across the lieutenant's face. I'm in, Captain, accessing their military databases now. As Tanaka sifted through the stolen data, the gravity of their situation became clear. Admiral Zixalara had implemented a formidable three-tiered defense strategy around the Nexus, a vast minefield followed by automated defense platforms, and finally a fleet of warships. Carter studied the tactical display, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. Chief Reeves, he called over the intercom, I need you to modify the resonance cannon. We're going to use it to clear a path through that minefield. In engineering, Reeves and his team worked feverishly to recalibrate the massive weapon. Hours passed as they pushed the limits of human ingenuity, combining their knowledge with the alien technology at their disposal. Finally, Reeves's voice crackled over the comm. Modifications complete, Captain. The resonance cannon is ready for your order. Carter nodded grimly. Excellent work. Helm, take us in. Weapons, prepare to fire on my mark. The Excalibur glided silently through space, invisible to the swarms of mines that surrounded them. As they neared the outer edge of the field, Carter gave the command. Fire! A brilliant beam of energy erupted from the ship's prow, lancing out into space. As it touched the first mine, a chain reaction began. Explosions rippled through the minefield, creating a clear path for the Excalibur to follow. As they pressed onward, the ship's sensors picked up a new threat. Captain, Chen called out, Nijin fighters on an intercept course. Carter's face hardened. He knew engaging the patrol risked detection, but allowing them to report back to the main fleet would be disastrous. Weapons free. Take them out fast and quiet. The Excalibur's human-enhanced weapon systems proved devastatingly effective. In a brief, intense firefight, the Nijin fighters were reduced to drifting debris before they could transmit a distress signal. With the immediate threat neutralized, the Excalibur pressed on towards the second line of defense, the automated platforms. As they drew closer, Tanaka spoke up. Captain, I think I can disable a section of the platforms. It'll create a gap for us to slip through, but it might alert them to our presence. Carter weighed the risks. Do it. We'll deal with the consequences. Tanaka's fingers flew across his console once more. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then a section of the defense grid went dark. We have a window, Captain, but they've detected the intrusion. Alarms are sounding throughout their network. Carter nodded grimly. Helm, take us through. Full speed. The Excalibur surged forward, slipping through the gap in the defense grid just as the disabled platforms began to reactivate. As they cleared the second line of defense, the ship's long-range sensors detected a massive energy buildup centered on the Nexus. Captain, Chen reported, her voice tight with concern, that energy reading, it's off the charts. I think it's some kind of superweapon. The implications were clear. If the Nijins had a weapon capable of destroying entire planets, Earth would stand no chance. Their mission had just become even more critical. All hands, battle stations, Carter ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of their situation. We're going in hot. Shields to maximum, charge the resonance cannon. As the Excalibur approached the final line of defense, the cloaking device flickered and failed, overtaxed by the strain of their journey. The massive Nijin fleet loomed before them, momentarily stunned by the sudden appearance of a single ship in their midst. Carter seized the initiative. Fire all weapons. Target their command ships. The space around the Nexus erupted into chaos as energy weapons and projectiles filled the void. The Excalibur's enhanced systems proved formidable, allowing it to hold its own against multiple Nijin warships. But the sheer number of enemy vessels began to take its toll. Shields at 60% and falling, Chen reported as another barrage rocked the ship. In engineering, Reeves worked frantically to keep the resonance cannon operational. "Captain, we're approaching critical power levels. We'll only have one shot at this." Carter's mind raced, considering their options. They were so close to their goal, but the Nigean fleet stood between them and victory. As he prepared to give his next order, a massive Nigean flagship moved to intercept them, its weapons primed and ready to deliver a killing blow. The captain's eyes narrowed as he recognized the ship. It could only belong to Admiral Zixalara herself. This was it, the final confrontation that would determine the fate of Earth and humanity. "All power to forward shields and the resonance cannon," Carter commanded, his voice filled with drive. "We're going to punch right through them and take out that superweapon." The Excalibur surged forward, its hull breaching in multiple locations as it took fire from all sides. Casualties mounted among the crew, but they held their course. As they closed in on the Nexus, Admiral Zixalara's flagship loomed directly ahead, its massive weapons array powering up for a devastating strike. Carter gripped the arms of his command chair, his eyes fixed on the display. Everything they had fought for came down to this moment. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the Excalibur hurtled towards its final confrontation with the heart of the Nigean Empire. The Excalibur's engines roared as Captain Carter initiated a series of intricate, evasive maneuvers. The ship danced through space, its movements unpredictable and erratic. Nigean weapons fire lanced past, missing the human vessel by mere meters. "Maintain course," Carter ordered, his squeezing hard as he gripped the arms of his command chair. "Chen, status on the resonance cannon?" "Charging, sir," Chen replied, her voice strained. 90% and climbing." The view screen flashed as a massive Nigean vessel moved to intercept them. Its sleek, dark hull bristled with weapon emplacements, dwarfing the Excalibur in both size and firepower. "Sir," Tanaka called out, "that's the Nigean Dominance, Admiral Zixalara's flagship." Carter's face hardened. Evasive pattern delta, all power to forward shields. The Excalibur banked hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy bolts from the Dominance. The two ships engaged in a deadly dance, exchanging fire at close range. Each hit shook the Excalibur to its core, sending sparks flying from overloaded consoles. "Shields failing!" Chen shouted over the din of battle. "We can't take much more of this." In engineering, Chief Reeves worked feverishly to keep the ship's systems online. His hands flew across control panels, rerouting power and patching critical systems. "Captain," he called over the intercom, "the resonance cannon is at full power, but firing it could overload our entire power grid. We might not survive the blast." Carter closed his eyes for a brief moment, weighing the lives of his crew against the fate of Earth. When he opened them again, his gaze was resolute. "Understood, Chief. Prepare to fire on my mark." The Nigean Dominance loomed ever closer, its weapons primed for a killing blow. Carter leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Now, Mr. Reeves, fire the resonance cannon." A blinding beam of energy erupted from the Excalibur's bow, slicing through space toward the Nexus. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, hull plates buckling as the immense power tore through its systems. The beam struck the Nexus's superweapon dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a massive explosion blossomed outward, engulfing the entire structure. Shockwaves rippled through the Nigean fleet, disabling ships and sending them spinning out of control. On the Excalibur's bridge, alarms blared as systems failed across the board. Smoke filled the air, acrid and thick. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, Chen reported, coughing. "We're breaking apart, sir." Carter stood, his face illuminated by the fires of battle. "All hands, abandon ship! Get to the escape pods!" As the crew scrambled to evacuate, Carter remained on the bridge, coordinating the evacuation. He helped injured crew members to the escape pods, ensuring as many of his people survived as possible. Finally, with the last of the crew safely away, Carter made his way to the final pod. He cast one last look at the bridge, the ship that had carried them so far. Then he sealed the hatch and launched. The Excalibur exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking several nearby Nigean vessels with it. The shockwave sent the escape pods tumbling through space, scattering them across the battlefield. In her flagship, Admiral Zixalara watched the destruction with a mixture of fury and grudging respect. "Protect the Nexus," she barked to her subordinates. "Regroup and establish a defensive perimeter. This battle is just the beginning." As Nigean ships moved to comply with their admiral's orders, a small patrol vessel detected 3 human life signs among the debris. It moved in, tractor beams engaging to retrieve the escape pods. Inside his pod, Carter regained consciousness, his head throbbing from the impact. Through the small viewport, he saw the Nigean ship approaching. His hand moved to his sidearm, but he knew resistance would be futile. The patrol ship's hangar bay opened, swallowing Carter's pod along with 2 others. As the atmosphere normalized, the pod's hatch hissed open. Carter emerged, hands raised, to find himself face-to-face with a squad of Nigean soldiers. "I am Captain James Carter of the Earthship Excalibur," he announced, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "I invoke the rights of prisoners of war under galactic law." The Nigean soldiers said nothing, their alien features unreadable. They roughly seized Carter, along with Tanaka and Reeves, who had emerged from the other pods. The humans were led through the ship's corridors, their hands bound behind their backs. As they marched, Carter caught glimpses of the battle raging outside through the ship's viewports. The Nigean fleet was in disarray, still reeling from the destruction of their superweapon. A small smile played at the corner of his mouth, quickly suppressed as they approached the ship's bridge. The door slid open, revealing a command center far more advanced than the Excalibur's. At its center stood a tall, regal figure whose very presence exuded authority. Admiral Zixalara turned, her 4 eyes fixing on the human prisoners with an intensity that made Carter's skin crawl. "So," she said, her voice a low, resonant hum, "these are the humans who dared to challenge the might of the Nigean Empire." She stepped closer, studying Carter with undisguised curiosity. "You've cost me a great deal today, Captain. I look forward to learning all your secrets." Carter met her gaze unflinchingly. "You'll find we humans are full of surprises, Admiral." Zixalara's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Indeed. Take them to the holding cells. Prepare for interrogation." As the humans were led away, Zixalara turned her attention back to the battle. Reports were flooding in from across the Empire. The attack on the Nexus had sent shockwaves through Nigean society, and whispers of dissent were already reaching her ears. On Earth, Major Sarah Hawkins received the news of the Excalibur's success and subsequent destruction. Her face was grim as she addressed the assembled military leaders. "The Excalibur has struck a critical blow against the Nigean Empire," she announced. "But Captain Carter and his crew are now in enemy hands. We cannot abandon them." She activated a holographic display, showing the latest intelligence on Nigean space. "I propose a rescue operation. We'll assemble our most advanced ships, equipped with the Nigean technology we've reverse-engineered. This will be humanity's first major interstellar military operation." The room erupted in a flurry of activity as plans were drawn up and orders issued. Ships were readied, crews assembled. Within hours, a fleet of Earth's finest vessels stood ready to launch. As the rescue fleet prepared to depart, Major Hawkins stood on the bridge of the flagship, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond. "Hold on, James," she whispered. "We're coming for you." The fleet engaged their FTL drives, disappearing in a flash of light. The next chapter in humanity's war against the Nigean Empire had begun, and the fate of both species hung in the balance. The flash of FTL drives illuminated the darkness of space as Earth's rescue fleet emerged from hyperspace. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Marcus Hawkins surveyed the tactical display, his eyes narrowing as he took in the Nigean defenses arrayed before them. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. "All ships present and accounted for, sir," his XO responded. "Nigean forces are mobilizing to intercept." Marcus nodded, his mind racing through potential strategies. The intelligence provided by his sister, Major Sarah Hawkins, had been crucial in planning this operation. Now, faced with the reality of the situation, he found himself at a crossroads. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from our deep cover operatives. They've located the Nigean homeworld, Nigeia Prime. Coordinates are coming through now." The Admiral's eyes widened. This changed everything. He now faced an impossible choice: rescue Captain Carter and his crew, or strike at the heart of the Nigean Empire. After a moment's hesitation, Marcus made his decision. "Divide the fleet. I'll lead our main force to Nigeia Prime. Colonel Jack Reeves, assemble your team. You're going after our people." As orders were relayed and ships began to break formation, Marcus couldn't help but feel the weight of history on his shoulders. The fate of two civilizations now hung in the balance. Aboard the Nigean Dominance, Captain James Carter worked silently in his cell, fashioning a crude lockpick from a piece of scavenged metal. Beside him, Chief Engineer Reeves and Lieutenant Tanaka watched the corridor for any sign of their guards. "Almost got it," Carter whispered, feeling the lock mechanism give way. The cell door slid open with a soft hiss. Tanaka grinned. "I'll take point. Give me 2 minutes to reach the nearest computer terminal." As Tanaka slipped away, Carter turned to Reeves. "We'll need weapons." Reeves nodded, producing a handful of small devices he'd cobbled together from smuggled components. Not exactly phasers, but they should pack enough of a punch to take down a Nigean or two. Carter took one of the makeshift weapons, feeling its weight in his hand. "Let's move." The human prisoners made their way through the ship's corridors, using Tanaka's hacked schematics to avoid patrols. As they neared the hangar bay, alarms began to blare. "Looks like our absence has been noticed," Reeves muttered. Carter's reply was cut short by the sound of approaching footsteps. He signaled for silence as a squad of Nigean guards rounded the corner. The ensuing firefight was brief but intense. Carter and Reeves's improvised weapons proved surprisingly effective, disorienting the Nigeans with bursts of focused sonic energy. As the last guard fell, Carter looked up to see Tanaka sprinting towards them. "I've scrambled their internal sensors and triggered false alarms across the ship," she reported breathless. "But it won't take them long to figure out what's happening." Carter nodded. "Then let's not overstay our welcome. To the hangar bay, double time." As the humans fought their way towards freedom, another battle was unfolding in the space around Nigeia Prime. Admiral Hawkins's fleet engaged the planet's orbital defenses, energy weapons lighting up the void between them. "Deploy the resonance disruptor," Hawkins ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos erupting around him. A sleek, cylindrical device detached from the flagship's underside, pulsing with barely held-back energy. As it activated, a shimmering field expanded outward, enveloping the human fleet. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Nigean energy weapons sputtered and died, while their shields flickered and failed. Hawkins allowed himself a small smile. Dr. Krantz's invention was proving its worth. "All ships, press the advantage," he commanded. "Penetrate their defensive line and establish a blockade around the planet." As the space battle raged, tensions on Nigeia Prime's surface reached a boiling point. In the capital city, Councillor Vexalia addressed a growing crowd of protesters. "Too long have we suffered under the tyranny of war," she called out, her voice amplified by hidden speakers. "The time has come for peace." The crowd roared its approval as Vexalia's supporters moved to seize control of key government buildings. The coup was swift and largely bloodless, catching the war-focused regime off guard. Back on the Nigean Dominance, Admiral Zixalara watched in mounting frustration as her carefully laid plans crumbled around her. Reports of the human fleet's approach to Nigeia Prime flooded in, along with news of the growing unrest on the surface. "Break formation," she snarled to her bridge crew. "Set course for the outer system. We'll use the human prisoners as leverage to—" Her orders were interrupted by a proximity alert. A small, unidentified craft had latched onto the Dominance's hull. Colonel Jack Reeves led his team through the silent corridors of the Nigean flagship, their stealth technology rendering them all but invisible to sensors. They moved with practiced efficiency, years of training evident in every step. As they approached the detention level, the sound of weapons fire reached their ears. Jack held up a hand, signaling his team to halt. "Looks like our birds have already flown the coop," he muttered, a hint of pride in his voice. "New objective, rendezvous and extract." The rescue team double-timed it towards the hangar bay, arriving just in time to see Captain Carter and his crew pinned down by Admiral Zixalara's personal guard. Jack grinned beneath his stealth suit's faceplate. Well, guess it's time for a family reunion." The rescue team decloaked and opened fire, catching the Nigean forces in a deadly crossfire. In the ensuing chaos, no one noticed Lieutenant Tanaka slip away to a nearby control panel. As the battle in the hangar bay reached its climax, the massive doors suddenly began to open. The explosive decompression caught everyone off guard, Nigen and human alike scrambling for purchase as the atmosphere vented into space. Captain Carter locked eyes with Colonel Reeves across the hangar. No words were needed. In perfect synchronization, both teams made a break for the nearest shuttle. As the humans piled into the craft, Admiral Zixalara emerged from behind a stack of crates, her face contorted with fury. She raised her weapon, taking aim at Carter's back. Before she could fire, another explosion rocked the ship. Zixalara stumbled, her shot going wide. By the time she regained her footing, the shuttle's engines were already flaring to life. The human craft shot out of the hangar bay, weaving through the debris of the ongoing battle. As they approached Admiral Hawkins's fleet, a message came through on an open channel. "Attention, all combatants," a calm voice announced. "This is Counselor Vex Alia of the new Nigean government. We call for an immediate ceasefire and open negotiations with the human fleet." Aboard the shuttle, Carter and his crew exchanged looks of disbelief. After everything they'd been through, could it really be over so simply? As they docked with the human flagship, Carter knew that the real work was just beginning. The wounds of war ran deep on both sides, and forging a lasting peace would be no easy task. But as he stepped onto the bridge of the flagship and saw the mixture of hope and persistence on the faces around him, Carter felt a spark of optimism. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had a chance to build something better from the ashes of conflict. Admiral Hawkins approached, extending his hand. "Welcome back, Captain. I hope you're ready for your next mission. We're going to need every ounce of your diplomatic skills for what comes next." Carter shook the offered hand, his mind already racing with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. The summit on Nigea Prime would determine the fate of both their species, and he would be right at the center of it all. The gleaming spires of Nigea Prime's capital city stretched towards the sky, a testament to the alien civilization's technological prowess. Inside the Grand Summit Hall, Captain Christian Carter stood with Admiral Marcus Hawkins and Dr. Elias Krantz, facing the newly appointed Nigean leadership across a massive obsidian table. Counselor Vex Alia, her iridescent carapace shimmering under the chamber's ambient lighting, leaned forward. "We appreciate your willingness to negotiate, but surely you understand our concerns about human expansion into our territory." Admiral Hawkins nodded, his expression neutral. "Just as we have concerns about the Nigean Empire's history of aggression. That's why we're here, to find common ground." The air crackled with tension as both sides presented their grievances and demands. Carter observed the proceedings, noting the subtle shifts in body language among the Nigean delegates. He'd studied their mannerisms extensively during his captivity, and now that knowledge proved invaluable. As Dr. Krantz began outlining a proposal for technological exchange, a low rumble shook the building. The lights flickered, then plunged the room into darkness. "Everyone down!" Carter shouted, his combat instincts taking over. He dove to the floor, pulling Counselor Vex Alia with him, as energy blasts seared the air where they had been standing. In the chaos, Carter activated his vibration sword. The weapon's blue glow illuminated the room, revealing masked Nigean assassins moving through the shadows. "Protect the delegates!" Admiral Hawkins ordered, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. He and Dr. Krantz scrambled to a nearby control panel, their fingers flying over the alien interface. Carter deflected another energy blast with his sword, the vibration technology dispersing the deadly beam. He locked eyes with Vex'ahlia, who had produced a sleek Nigean pistol. "Together?" he asked. The Nigean counselor nodded, her compound eyes reflecting the sword's blue glow. "Together." They moved in tandem, years of combat experience on both sides creating an unlikely but effective partnership. Carter's sword flashed, parrying attacks and creating openings for Vex'ahlia's precise shots. Across the room, Admiral Hawkins called out, "Carter, we've restored emergency power to the defense systems. We need to hold them off for another 2 minutes." The captain acknowledged with a quick nod, then turned to face a towering Nigean warrior who had broken through the line. The alien sneered, brandishing an energy staff crackling with power. "Your primitive weapon is no match for Nigean technology, human," the warrior hissed. Carter didn't waste breath on a reply. He moved with fluid grace, his vibration soared humming through the air. The Nigean's confidence faltered as his energy blasts were deflected with ease. In a lightning-fast sequence, Carter closed the distance. His sword sang, striking the energy staff with precision. The weapon sparked and fizzled, rendered useless by the vibration technology. The Nigean warrior stumbled back, disarmed and shocked. Carter leveled his sword at the alien's throat, but didn't strike. "Surrender," he said firmly. "This doesn't have to end in more bloodshed." As the last of the attackers were subdued, the emergency lights flickered on. Carter surveyed the room, relief washing over him as he saw both human and Nigean delegates alive, if shaken. Counselor Vex'ahlia approached, her eyes fixed on Carter's vibration sword. "I've never seen anything like it," she admitted. "You saved my life, Captain." "Why?" Carter deactivated the sword, returning it to his belt. "Because peace is worth fighting for," he replied simply. The counselor's mandibles clicked in what Carter had come to recognize as a thoughtful expression. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we have more to learn from each other than I first believed." As security teams secured the area and medical personnel tended to the wounded, the delegates regrouped. The shared experience of facing a common enemy had shifted the atmosphere in the room. Admiral Hawkins cleared his throat. "I think we can all agree that this incident highlights the need for cooperation between our species." Vex'ahlia nodded, her posture more relaxed than before. "Indeed, Captain Carter's actions today have demonstrated the potential of human-Nigean collaboration." She paused, mandibles clicking again. "I have a proposal, if you're willing to hear it." Over the next several hours, as the summit reconvened, a new spirit of collaboration emerged. Vex'ahlia's proposal for a joint human-Nigean peacekeeping force became the cornerstone of a comprehensive peace agreement. Carter found himself at the center of negotiations, his unique experiences with both species proving invaluable. As discussions progressed, the outline of a new interstellar order began to take shape. "A demilitarized zone between our territories," Admiral Hawkins mused, studying the star charts. "It could work with proper oversight." Dr. Krantz's eyes lit up as he pored over Nigean technical schematics. "The potential for technological exchange is staggering. Imagine combining our vibration technology with Nigean energy manipulation." As the summit entered its final day, Carter stood with Vex'ahlia on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The Nigean sun was setting, casting a purple glow across the alien landscape. "It won't be easy," Carter said, watching ships from both species moving through the sky. "There's a lot of history to overcome." Vex'ahlia's antenna twitched in agreement. "But it's a start, a chance to build something new." As they turned back to rejoin the negotiations, Carter felt a sense of cautious optimism. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time since humanity had encountered the Nigeans, there was hope for a future of cooperation rather than conflict. The final session of the summit stretched into the night, as both sides hammered out the details of their new alliance. Carter's mind raced with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. A joint space exploration initiative, cultural exchange programs, an interstellar council to maintain peace. The scope of what they were attempting was unprecedented. As the first light of dawn broke over Nigeria Prime, Carter realized they were on the cusp of a new era. The pen hovered over the treaty document, ready to change the course of two civilizations forever.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.